to go to Beverly right now. And Beverly, do you have a question here for Charlene?
I'm not sure. I'm listening to this, and I'm hearing she could have been a fly on the wall in my life. In my first marriage, I was married for 20 years, and it was extremely abusive. Mm-hmm. I honestly, only God brought me through it. I should have been dead 10 times over.
Wow. Okay.
And then when I literally got my kids at 16 and 17 into an apartment, and I hid. I changed my name, my car, my job, moved to a different county. And a man stepped in. 2 years after that, a man stepped in, and he love bombed me because I had no self-worth. And he's a good man, though. He's a good man, and he would do anything for me. But I also learned that he emotionally took advantage of my vulnerability. And once I was of no use, he's discarded me, but he still keeps me at hand's length. I don't know if that makes any sense. We don't have a physical relationship. I'm not his type. He's very two-faced. And I find myself listening to this and wondering, I see my old life as a black and white movie. God has just brought me through it. He's given me everything I lost. And even though I rebelled against God when he told me not to marry this man, I'm not sure what to do. I don't feel like I have the right to divorce because it's not that kind of marriage. It's just, I'm stuck. I see it.
All right, Beverly, hold on. You hear the music. We got to go to a break, but we're going to help you right after this. We'll hear what Charlene has to say. It's a great book. It's comprehensive. Think you could benefit from it, especially if you're in any kind of abusive relationship. Overcoming the Narcissist, Sociopath, Psychopath, and Other Domestic Abusers. Charlene Quint is the author. We'll be back with her and Dr. Jill Hubbard right after this. Glad you're with us. We're back. If you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, wherever you might see us, this is the book, and it's a big one. It's a really big book, and it's comprehensive, and the big word, overcoming, and it's written from a Christian perspective. I think you'll like this. It's just full of truth and help for you, and boy, do people need a lot of help. So what do you think? When you hear Beverly say these things, Charlene, what are you thinking here?
Well, Beverly and I had a similar situation. At one point in my life, I had to flee my own home, and I went into hiding for 2.5 years. And I finally came out later and said I'm going to change my life and change who I allow into my life. One of the things I would push back, and she said he's a good man, but I'm taking notes here, and she said he's a good man, but he's emotionally abusive, he's two-faced, and he used her. So I would question whether he is a good man. And I would point out a couple things. You have to have, in order to have an emotionally healthy marriage, you have to have two emotionally healthy people. Mm-hmm. And both Beverly and her partner they're not emotionally healthy. She's attached to an abuser and putting up with abuse, and he's not cherishing her as a man should cherish his wife. So I would say that there needs to be some emotional health here. I would recommend that she would get some individual counseling. We know that marriage counseling, couples counseling is not recommended when there is abuse involved. So I would recommend that she get some individual counseling and a support group surrounded by women who understand what she's going through. He can go to abuser counseling. It has a very low success ratio. But abusers are on this scale. So
that's right.
If he's willing, the thing about counseling is you have to want to change. You have to want to make it work. You have to have goodness in your heart for the other person. And if you have that, that gives it a possibility. But if you don't want to change, which is really why most abusers never change.
Jill,
right.
Let's hear what you're thinking.
Yes. So good men, Charlene, as you were pointing out, get help. right? That's kind of a demarcation. And that pathology is on a continuum. So people can have narcissistic traits. Men can be uninformed, maybe have witnessed abuse in their home, have been abused themselves, ignorant, all those things. And if they get help and work on things, that's a good man. That's a man whose conscience is not so seared and he's not so entrenched in that abusive pattern, right? He just didn't know a lot of times. But you're right. There's a lot of abusers that will placate and will say, yes, I want to get help. But those are the ones that drop out after 1 or 2 sessions.
So,
right, and are unwilling.
Yeah, Beverly, you're hearing these things, and what do you? Well, I want to ask you. When you said he was a good man, what did you mean by that? Wondering if Beverly is still there. Okay, Beverly, what did you mean when you said he was a good man? I'm not able to get her on, I guess. I don't know.
Well, I think he wasn't as severe as the first one, right? And it sounds like he's providing. But the fact that he's discarding her, what else is he doing outside of the home? If they're not together, they're not in an intimate relationship at all, he's just supporting her. Okay, well, that's, I guess, benevolent of him. But if he's going off and living a separate life, that's pretty much abandonment.
Yeah, it is.